This is Adam Dunlap with MrParkour.com, and we're here with the extremely talented and world-renowned Traceur Daniel Ilabaca. Daniel's traveled the world performing parkour, starring in commercials, providing consultation, and he is most recently the subject of the Beyond Human project by Lee Jones. He is here today with us to talk a little more about the project and a little more about himself and what he does. So right there, Daniel, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good, thank you.
Awesome. Would you mind, could you start us off with a little about yourself, maybe your name, your age, and what you do?
My name's Daniel Ilabaca. I'm 21 years old. I practice parkour. I've been doing it all my life, really. It's just my life, so, yeah.
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool.
Well, first thing, we want to jump right into this project, this Beyond Human project by Lee Jones.
Yeah.
And we want to know a little more about it. So how did Lee Jones contact you about it?
Well, Lee Jones is a well-known artist across the world, but he's based in Liverpool. And because I'm from Liverpool myself, he's just I'm really not sure how he managed to find out about me, but he's just been watching my videos over the years, really. And to him, that's really inspiring and stuff. He's drawn a lot of pictures of me in the past and what have you. And I don't know, it's just, he just saw me through that, really. Beyond the Beyond Human project, the whole thing, a lot of the people that he's painted were chosen for him by, his manager or, and some other people. But from what I was told by Lee Jones, he chose me, do you know what I mean? So that's a fantastic thing, really, but yeah.
And did you get to meet him, or what?
I've met up with Lee Jones quite a few times. He's a really nice fella. We've had a good few conversations. He's really down to earth. Yeah, it's kind of like, I practice parkour and so does he, but he just does it with his pencil. So, we've had a good few conversations in the past.
And what made you, I guess, then want to be a part of the project? I suppose it's not something that you'd be like, well, no, I don't want you to pay me. But like, was there something that drew you to the project? Something that made you say like, oh, like, well, no, I really want to be a part of this or something?
Well, not necessarily. I got the email from my mother. I got an email saying, this guy wants to pay me. I had no clue who Lee Jones was at the time. And then, just researching into a lot of his work and stuff, it's really, really interesting to see, just to know that someone wants to pay me, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something I was really looking forward to having a look at, really. And, art lasts for such a long time as well, so I was just really intrigued. And, I was looking forward to seeing what it looked like in the finished piece.
Yeah, and how does it feel? Because there's some really famous athletes, some other ones also in this project, like Bolt and some other ones as well. How does it feel to be a part of that? Does it feel just tell me, how does that feel to be like included in a project that has Lee Jones and has some of those other athletes that he included?
Yeah, well, it does feel amazing to know that I'm a part of this exhibition with all the other athletes. To me in my life, I see everyone has so much potential, do you know what I mean? And there's only a few that choose to realise that potential. I'm privileged to be around those people, but I kind of see that same. I don't know. Everyone is capable of being whatever it is that they choose to be, really. So I just see it as a group of people that just choose to be them, really. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's pretty much it, really. Yeah, it's just privileged to be around those type of people, but as I said, it's just that I realise that everyone in the world has potential and everyone is capable of whatever it is that they choose to put their mind to, really. So for me, it's just good.
Yeah. And tell us this then. Then we'll segue into kind of the next thing we wanted to talk about. You put your mind to parkour, right? Is that what you call it, or what do you call what you do?
What do I call what I do?
Yeah.
Like many people have said it in the past, like Bruce Lee, Sebastian, and people like that, they just called it the way, which kind of makes sense because it is just a basic discipline of life, really, for me, parkour. It's not just the movement that I find, that I get happiness out of. It's living for today and making the most of it, and moving is a very good way of cherishing the moment, really. So that's why, I love moving, and that's why parkour to me is everything. Do you know what I mean? So yeah. It's like washing the
Gotcha.
dishes, just washing dishes, you practice washing. It's like parkour helps you to realise every moment is special in whatever action that you're doing, really. So.
Okay, so then that'd be why you do it then, or that's like.
Well, yeah, that's why I do it. In the beginning, it was a way. Parkour was a way for me to find myself, but now that I found myself, I realise that happiness doesn't come from doing the movement. It comes from living for today, and that's all that matters. And realising that everything that you do in your life is a choice. You either choose to fall or you choose not to fall. Do you know what I mean? In the beginning, over the years, I've fallen so many times in my life, physically and mentally. But all that I've learned from. Do you know what I mean? And I rarely ever fall anymore. I mean, I'm totally free, I'm totally free because I make every choice, every action, every moment that I'm in, I make a choice. I either choose to fall or choose not to fall, really. So, I mean, what it all comes down to is choice, isn't it? So, yeah, choice.
Yeah. Well, then, what do you call yourself? Like, I mean, if someone said, "What are you, Daniel?" Like, what would you say?
That's a really tricky question. I'm just a person. I mean, it's really strange because this past year, I've learned. There's so many things that I've started to learn about myself and other people around me. It's just that I just don't like to be separated from anyone else. I mean, people look at me as if I'm something more than what they are, and that kind of restricts me to what I feel I'm capable of. Because to me, I'm just normal. Do you know what I mean? It's just my life. I'm living my life, and I'm not, letting anything restrict me in any way. So it's just, I mean, it's really hard to get my head around it when people look at me as if I'm something more than they are, really. Because as I said, to me, I'm just a person that is just, living for the moment, loving the day, and making the choices that I want to make. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
That's good. Tell me this then. What does to get where you are, Daniel? You must train a lot. I guess that'd be the thing that people assume. So I guess the question is, what does training mean to you? How do you train?
Quite a lot of years it has been about training, it has been about conditioning, it has been about all those things, but it's almost as if conditioning and training is as if I'm trying to prepare myself for tomorrow or the next day. But as I said, I've come to a point now in my life where I realise that today's that all we have. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not necessarily training to me anymore. I mean, you can't call your life training, it's just your life. Do you know what I mean? You go out and you live it, really. So when I say that I'm going out, I don't say that I'm going out to train, I just say that I'm going out or I'm going out to play, because it is just playing with reality. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
As I said, I don't really, in the eyes of people that practice parkour, I actually don't practice parkour that much, to be honest, because I know that I don't need to move to progress. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I could literally sit on a pavement the whole day and learn so much more in the day of sitting on that pavement than if I was trying to fit as much as I could into my day, because I realise that progression doesn't come with time of practice. It comes with the moments of choice and belief within yourself, really. And that's, I mean, obviously you've got to get to a point where you have a good physical shape, but, once you have that body and that you're physically capable, there's nothing that you cannot do, and it's not something that you have to. For myself, I don't personally train every single day. Well, I do, but just not in movements. I mean, as I said, when I was talking about washing the dishes, it's like, it's being aware of every action and everything that you're doing, and just, just being aware, really. So, I mean, like, my life is my training. I could be sitting down and just watching people, or I could just, be drawing, or I could be doing so many different things, but to me, everything is parkour. Do you know what I mean? It is my training. So, and when I choose to do parkour and go out and jump around, it's like, I don't think to myself, but I haven't trained all this week. Do you know what I mean? I'm not capable of doing this. You know what I mean? It's a choice. Yeah, I mean, every day is a constant battle, really. So, yeah, I just make the choice not to listen to all those negative thoughts and just to stay happy, really. Because, as I said, even emotion's a choice as well. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, really.
That's good. Well, tell me about this. What about do you still have like goals, or as far as your training goes? Like, do you still have? Are you still trying to progress, or what would be like the hole in your game, so to speak? What would you say? Like, I'm really trying to improve this. Like, is there anything you're trying to improve? Like, you said you could sit on the pavement all day and still learn something, but is there something you're still trying to learn, or still something you're trying to accomplish physically?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're learning every single day. I mean, I wouldn't really say there is a specific thing that I'm trying to learn. I'm just open to a lot of things. I just got distracted. Sorry. I'm just open to a lot of things, and I'm not really striving. I mean, there's no goals that I've set for myself, really. I just, there used to be a lot of things that I was wanting to do in my life, but I mean, none of those things are going to make me happy. None of that. Like, I've been to so many places around the world, and they're all beautiful, and I really cherish those moments. But it's like we choose to be happy with physical things, we choose to be happy with money, we choose to be happy with these things, and I don't know, I'm just loving today, to be honest. So that's all I can really say. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Is there with that said, 'cause I think maybe you take it sounds like you take a more I mean, for lack of a better word, maybe a more laid back approach. I think a lot of people are like train, like accomplish. And maybe that's because of the level you've reached physically and mentally, but maybe it's just your character.
Realization. I mean, so many people can spend their whole life asleep, and I just feel personally that the truth, what we're all searching for has been there from the beginning. I mean, it's right there in front of your face, but we just don't see it because we have, so many things in our head that just block us from seeing the truth, really. And I've just kind of, it's taken me 9 years to realise that the answers, do you know what I mean, to myself, and to know that I'm capable of whatever it is I put my mind to, like, and just to be happy, really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to sit in an office, and I used to work, and when I was younger, I was like, I've got to get out of this. I want to practice parkour. I want to try and find myself, and I've got to a point now where I'm just happy. As I said, I found the answers that I've been looking for, and I'm more than happy to work in a chip shop for the rest of my life. A fish and chip shop, or painting and decorating, or whatever, because I just choose to be happy. I've found the answers that I've been looking for, really. Yeah.
Okay. Then, with that said, what do you because that's a very, very positive thing, I think, and a very positive thing of parkour is it's not necessarily about the movement, or it's not necessarily about accomplishing this jump or doing this trick, whatever, but finding yourself and finding happiness. Where do you see yourself? With that said, what do you see yourself doing in 10 years, or where do you see yourself being in 10 years?
I would like to see myself, just as I said, again, living every day and choosing to be happy, but also being around, because there's so many people in the world that practice parkour, but just to be around everyone without everyone having negative thoughts about each other, everyone having different views, it doesn't really matter. Just the fact that everyone can respect each other's views and just all train together. I'd like to be able to see, a day where we're just all, we literally, like, there's a massive group of people where we don't even have to talk to each other. We can literally just, we can talk to each other through movements. We can express ourselves through movement, do you know what I mean? Which is what, in the UK, it is, it's gotten to a point in parkour in the UK where when people meet up for gatherings, we actually don't really talk at all. We just move, do you know what I mean? And so many, there's so many places across the world, there are still people that are applauding people when they do movements, and, like giant jams where people are, like, standing around one person who's ready to do this big jump or something. It's kind of like we just got past that point now. We're all just, because we realise there is no big and small, do you know what I mean? Everything is a choice, As I said, life is a battle, and it's like you need to learn to not apply onto you what the last generation applied onto them from that generation, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's learning to make your own choice in the moment that you're in, really. So, I don't know, there is no big and small, and I'd like to be able to know that in 10 years from now that I can move along with everyone without having any negative thoughts in my head of how they think of me, or, what I think of them, or anything like that. I'd just like to be able to just live life, really. So, yeah. I mean,
that's great.
There's a lot going, in my life at the moment, there's a lot going on. I mean, you've got this thing with MTV that will be happening soon with the WFPF and all this crap, so many people talk about how, there's so many, there's so much stuff on the forums with people being so negative about it. In some sense, it does, on the internet, it does look like it's going to be like a new urban free flow. But it's, and I agree, because it does seem as if it's about that. And, the guy that we're working with to do this TV program is like, well, it's about moving parkour forward. It's like a shark. If it stops swimming, it'll die. It's got to keep moving forwards. And I said to him, you're right for what you're saying. Parkour does have to keep moving forwards, but it has to be everyone's decision, not just a group of people. Do you know what I mean? So, this thing that's going on with MTV, hopefully we're going to have a conference soon in London or somewhere. We'll let everybody in the world know about this conference, and it'll just be good for everyone to come down and just talk about, where we should go with parkour, really. Because it isn't, if we're moving ahead with parkour without everyone else knowing, it's kind of like we're doing it for our own benefit, for our own self-gain, and it's like, that's wrong, do you know what I mean? Because it's not ours, it's everyone's. So this is why I believe this conference would be such an important thing to have, really. But also, with this thing happening with MTV, it's going to reach a bigger audience, and it's going to help change so many other people's lives as well. Just Jump London affected, the UK and then across Europe and now, across the world and what have you. I just see it as a good opportunity to spread the message of parkour, really. I'm totally not interested with money or any of these things. I'm passionate about just parkour and getting the true message across and out there so that, you know, in the future I can move without thinking any negative thoughts about anyone else, that we can all just move together as one. So I'm just thinking, you know, that it's important that everyone gets involved in this conference to, you know, to see where the future of parkour goes, really. So, yeah.
Great. Yeah. Well, on those lines, then, more questions. I want to transition here a little question about parkour itself. You just touched on a lot of things which I think will be really good for the community and for the members on MrParkour.com. But a couple questions, maybe more specific, and we'll kind of segue into that with this question about you. Is there anyone that has inspired you to become who you are? Like, do you look up to anyone, or is it more of a self-discovery, or is there any specific athletes or?
Well, personally, I mean, I've gone through so much over my life. I used to do drugs. I used to be on the streets constantly, and I just don't know. I mean, my mother and father are Christians, like, and I mean, their belief. I've always tested them over years. I've always, like, you know, not physically punched them, but I've always mentally, like, attacked them over my life. But one thing that they have never done is you know, punch me back mentally. And I guess that just showed me that I started to see the wrong that I was doing, and I started to make my own choice on Christianity, really. And just to hear the story of this guy that came to earth, you know, to die for our sins, and just, you know, even when he was carrying that cross, like, and so many people were spitting at him and hating him, it's like, but he still loved those people. That, because I believe that love is the most powerful thing as men that we have. Do you know what I mean? And love can change the world, and truth comes from love. So just to hear the fact that this guy came to earth to die for us, you know, called Jesus, that's the most inspiring thing I've ever heard, and that's someone who I strive to be like every single day of my life. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm totally about everyone else. I'm not about myself. Like, so, yeah, Jesus is the man for me, really. Yeah.
Well, great. Oh, with that said, and I don't want to put you on the spot with this question, but
Go on.
I think. Oh, I don't think I know. I know there's a lot of people in the community worldwide that look up to you as an athlete and as a figure in parkour. To say, oh, I want to be like that, or I want to be like Daniel. I want to move like Daniel, or I want to be as capable as Daniel. What do you think of that? How do you respond to that?
How do I respond to that? Well, I think it's quite saddening, really, that people. I mean, it's respectable. You know, a lot of people look at me like that, but they're only restricting themselves to what they truly know that they're capable of. I mean, when, you know, I think that personally the next generation are going to get it so much harder than, you know, our generation of parkour, because they're going to look at us and only see a level, and they'll want to get to that point. Do you know what I mean? They will strive just to be like that, rather than just cherishing, you know, who they are today and how they feel about themselves today. Because, I mean, when I was younger, it was never about, like, oh, I want to be like David Bell, or I want to be like this and that. I just enjoyed parkour. You know what I mean? I just loved going out and just experimenting and living life. Do you know what I mean? Using my imagination and just being a kid. But, you know, nowadays there's so many people that the reason why there's only one David Beckham, the reason why there's only one, you know, famous person, or one Bruce Lee, or one Jackie Chan, is because people separate themselves from those people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't see that potential within themselves. So they look at people like Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee, and they want to be like them. So because they want to be like them, it takes them longer to get there. Do you know what I mean? It takes them physical years, not mental years. And as I said, you can mentally progress in just in a moment of realization, like, or you can physically progress in about 20 years. It's like, it's entirely up to you. But one thing I'd like to say to them is just to, you know, understand that I am no different to them. Do you know what I mean? I see what I see in myself and them as well. And I just want to be able to move around. I would love to train with everyone, but only for them to understand that, you know, I don't look at them any different. It's just for us all to train together, really. So, yeah, it is quite saddening that, you know, that a lot of people are looking up to other people and not actually seeing that potential within themselves, really. So,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same with competition. The reason why I don't believe in competition is because, you know, people strive for the gold medal. You know, you train your whole year just for those few moments in front of those judges, and they're the ones that judge where your life goes next, whether you're going to be happy or sad. And it's like, you know, if you don't get that gold medal, it's almost as if that whole year of training was for nothing. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, it just loses the purpose for the reason why you want to move in the first place. You know, people don't do it for just the enjoyment of it. They do it because they want to be better than someone else. They do it because they want to be known. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah,
none of these things are needed. Do you know what I mean? So people start to lose I think in a way we don't evolve, we go the opposite way. You know, we start to de-evolve. I'm not really sure that's the word for it, but you know, we start to restrict ourselves. You know, through the way we view others, and the way we, you know, yeah, that's pretty much it, really. So.
Mm. Okay, and then with that said, and maybe you just answered this, but then
Cool.
what would you say is the most pressing issue in the parkour community, and then how do you approach these issues? Or do you have any proposed solutions for those matters?
Say again?
Say again?
Say again, yeah.
What are the most pressing issues that you see in the parkour community today, and how do you approach these issues? How do you do you have any proposed solutions to them? And like I said, you kind of already answered it, but
there's so much going on in the parkour community these days, and you know, I mean, every day is a battle. Do you know what I mean? But not with everyone else. Every day is a battle with yourself, and I go all across the world because I want people to realise that potential within themselves. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I was at a workshop. The last workshop I was at was when I was in Mexico. And I got there, you know, so many people looking at me thinking, oh my God, it's Daniel Ilabaca. They've come to watch me move, do you know what I mean?
Sure.
And in some sense, I feel really down because I want them just to realise that I'm no different to them. But, you know, that whole week that I'm there, you know, they expect me to move, but I don't. And when I don't show them what they want to see, they come up and ask me why I'm not doing it, and that gives me the opportunity to then speak to them and say to them, well, you know, I don't want to move if you're looking at me as if I'm any different. So in a way, it's a way that I can then speak to them and you know, let them know how I feel about myself and them as well. And once I've got my message across at the end of the workshop, you know, everyone knows me for me, and we're all just able to move together. Do you know what I mean? And
yeah.
I don't know. It's just there's so much. The only thing that makes parkour worse is when people believe that it's other people that are affecting it, not themselves. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. Then that's really good. Thank you. Last question about parkour, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with some other stuff. And again, this might seem kind of redundant, but I just want to get a straight answer on a straight question.
Okay.
Where do you think parkour will be in 10 years? You kind of touched on where you wanted to go.
Everything really, isn't there? I mean, there is the physical side and there's the mental side. You know, I'll tell you both sides. You know, it can either go two ways, and it's not to do with it's to do with each individual and how they present themselves. It could, you know, as I said, it's to do with everyone. It affects parkour, not just one person. Like, you know, it could go physically. It could become just another trend. It could become just another sport. It could become, you know, a competitive thing. It's just another thing that people will try, and it'll lose its meaning like every other sport. You know, because parkour has come and gone over generations. It's come and gone. What parkour is being able to look at a wall and seeing, you know, you're a blank canvas, a way that, you know, no one else has been able to look at that wall the way you are. You know what I mean? It's being able to look at create your own path out of nothing, really. Do you know what I mean? That is the message that comes through parkour. This is why people are so drawn to parkour, because it still has the truth to it. You know, like football, you know, someone was to pick up a ball and then start kicking it. Do you know what I mean? It comes from that free mind that was able to create something like football, but over the years, the physical mind, you know, changed it, the physical view changed it, and it's now become a competitive thing, and has lost its meaning. So it's just another trend, it's just another sport, as you would call it, you know. And that's why, as I said, there is only one David Beckham, there's only one this and that, because it's lost its meaning to why it was created in the first place, which is what could happen to parkour. You know, parkour has truth to it. It isn't I mean, all movement has the truth to it, but a lot of the movements have been taken over by the physical view. Now, this is what I'm trying to say, is that in parkour at the moment, it's going through a very, very crucial time, because it can either go two ways at the moment. It could be seen worldwide as it's just this another trend, this physical movement, where it's about being better than other people and being happy because you can do flips and this and that. Or it could still have the message in it, which is that, you know, today is all that matters, and that you should just cherish each moment. And, you know, parkour is a way of helping you discover, you know, your own potential, really. And that, you know, as I said, when people are pushed into a box, there's always someone that will, you know, push out that box and create something from their own imagination to find out what is truth in life, really. And that's why parkour has come at such a time, because, you know, the world's in a bad state at the moment, and there's so much going on in the world. that it's come about. But it's slowly been. I've seen it. You see it every single day in the press, in the newspapers, and on the internet, on the forums. Parkour is slowly starting to become another physical thing. People are getting in it because they get the opportunity to travel the world, and they think that that's what makes them happy. And they do commercials, and they get lots of money, so they think that that's what makes them happy. And all these different things, like, do you know what I mean? And so it is slowly starting to lose its message, because people, not are selfish, but people are wanting to self-gain. They're wanting to do it for themselves. They believe that by doing these commercials, by using parkour to do this and that, it's going to bring them success, which is kind of how I was in the beginning, because we grow up in a physical world. The things that when a child cuts his hand, and his mother, he's okay and he carries on playing, but when his mother sees to it, she reacts differently. So the next time he cuts his hand, he reacts different as well, by watching his mother and how she reacts. So it's kind of like, the reason why, commercially and all these things were so exciting back in the days for me is because that was what I was told what is success, do you know what I mean? And so even so many people today are like, oh my God, Daniel, you're working with on TV, that's fantastic, you're becoming successful. And that really, really frustrates me, because in my heart I already am successful, do you know what I mean? Working in a little shop, or working at a groceries, or working wherever, and I am feeling successful, do you know what I mean? I am feeling happy with who I am. And the only thing that prevents people from feeling that is they take in other people's perceptions, they take in other people's views on how they, on who they are, really. So as I said, this parkour is going two ways, and it's not just up to me; it's up to everyone else as well. If they don't see the truth in it, it's just going to become another physical thing. Or as I said, in the next 10 years, I said to me, every day is a battle, and I'm trying every single day to prevent parkour from just becoming another physical thing, because it needs, it's the basic, you don't need anything, you don't need a skateboard, you don't need a BMX, it's just movements, do you know what I mean? And that's why it is a crucial time, because it has so much truth in it, and it can't be lost. So, we all need to learn to form together, to work together, and talk about where parkour is going in the future, really. Yeah. But as I said, I would personally love to be able to see parkour as part of the curriculum in school, where kids come and it's more that it's more important than maths and English, and more important than all these things, because, as I said, it helps you to realise your own potential. Do you know what I mean? It's something I would love to see involved in everything in life in the future, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
Through movements, it's not just parkour, but through movements is the easiest way to teach discipline to children, like, do you know what I mean? For them to realise what is right and wrong through movement.
Yeah.
So, when you're walking across that rail, it doesn't take time. This is one thing. It doesn't take time to practice. The more practice, I really can't say this. How does it? When you're practicing walking across a rail, it doesn't matter how long you try. Every time you walk along that rail, it's a choice that you make to keep falling off or to keep wobbling. The more you practice doesn't mean that you get better. It depends on what mind state you're in when you're walking along that rail. Do you know what I mean? You're either thinking of falling off that rail, which prevents you from being aware of the moment, or you actually just focus on the rail, and that's why you walk across it. If you know what I'm trying to say, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But so as I said, it's like this is why so many people love balancing, because it's it doesn't matter how many years you've been doing it for. It's still a choice. You could fall off at any moment, and it's the only thing that's going to make you fall is if you're, as I said, if you're afraid of falling, you fall because you're afraid. Do you know what I mean? So every day is a battle. So that rail that you're walking across symbolises your life. Do you know what I mean? You either look at the end of the rail and see that as where you want to get, and because you want to get to that point, you'll fail. Do you know what I mean? Or you understand that it's about each step that you take. It's not about the next step or the step before. It's about the next step. It's about this step that you take. Do you know what I mean? And that just applies to life as well. Do you know what I mean? And that's why, as I said, parkour is such a good thing to to introduce to young children, because it helps them to understand. So yeah, that's where I'd love to be able to see parkour as a main focus in the world in the future. Really, yeah.
Great. Two more questions for you, Daniel. A couple of people from the community wanted to know some things. First of all, we heard that the news is you have a course or some type of training camp that you built at your house. Is this true?
Yeah, that's true.
What is it? Who designed it? Who built it? What is it made of? What does it look like? You have pictures of it?
Yeah, well, I've got a few pictures of it. I'm sure I can send you a few across.
That'd be awesome.
What it is, I mean, my brother's just made me an obstacle course one year when I came back from India. It was part of a Christmas present, but you know, I'm really, really happy that they took time out to make it, because it's now become a big part of our workshops that we do here in the Wirral, where I live. And, you know, we have literally about 25 kids every year just coming into the back garden. Every summer they come in and, they, you know, there's just... I mean, the great thing about mother and father is that, you know, they always have the door open. Do you know what I mean? Which is just really, really such an amazing inspiration. Like, just, you know, to know that your mum and dad are open to that, really. And they encourage, you know, people to come in and just, you know, just to play. We have crash mats. We have so many different things over the years. But, you know, it's just, it gets kids off the streets. It gets them away from violence. It gets them away from doing, you know, naughty, you know, bad things and what have you, doing drugs and all these different things. And it puts them into something positive. Like, so, as I said, it's just fantastic to know that we have this little obstacle course built in the back garden where, you know, kids can come along and just play, really. But also, I spend, you know, so much of my time there as well, because, you know, every single day that I go onto that back garden, I'm always finding something new. And the only way I'm able to find something new is if I'm looking outside the box, not, you know, inside the box. Because, as I said, even parkour itself, you know, say, for instance, when you look at a tree, you know, you're told through parkour that it's used for swinging and climbing and jumping on. But, you know, if you learn to look outside of that, there's so much more. You know, you could create a whole new art form just from using one branch, do you know what I mean? But that all depends on whether you restrict yourself when you look at that tree, really. So, I don't know, as I said, my back garden still has so much potential, and I just think it's fantastic, yeah. Great.
That's great. And then, one other guy in our community, his name's Kelso, that's what we call him, his real name's Marcelo. He's from Chile, and we heard your family's from Chile, or some heritage or something's from Chile. Is this true?
Yeah, well, my dad's from Chile, Santiago, so half my family are from Chile, so yeah. The thing is, I've never really had the opportunity to go out there. The last time I went was when I was 3 years old, but hopefully we're planning on heading out there later this year or next year, so...
Really? Okay, that's what Kelso wanted to know. He's like, hey, is Daniel ever going to come out to Chile? Yeah, so that's good.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, in that case, Daniel, that's all the questions we have. Is there anything else you wanted to say? Anyone you want to say hi to or give recognition to or anything like that?
I mean, what I'd like to say, this is not just for me, but for everyone like that is practicing parkour, is I've got a question for everyone. Why do you move? This is something that Chow Bell asked us at one of the parkour generation workshops. And I knew the answer, and I spoke to him about it because I found the answer to the reason why it is that I do it. But the question is, why do you move? Why do you move? That is the question.
Oh.
And also one thing I want people to understand is, a lot of people aren't able to talk about. The reason why a lot of people are interested in what I have to say is it's because. It's not that it comes from me, but what I say comes from their hearts. Do you know what I mean? I'm just able to put it into words. Now, if they want to learn to put it into the words themselves, you need to live in the moment. Do you know what I mean? And by living in the moment, it's like when you live in the moment, it becomes part of your story. Do you know what I mean? And that's when you're able to speak. Like I'm going to tell you one of the things that I've been through just over this past few years. Really, I mean, one of my experiences. Which I really, really wanted to speak about to a lot of people. I'm actually planning on doing a book because I really need to get a lot of my thoughts down on paper. Basically, I was in Elephant Castle in London, a place in London, and it was a jam basically, and we were just all training. And I looked over this ledge, and it was quite the drop. I could see a cat to the other side of from this rail. I was looking over the balcony, and I could see this wall in the distance that I could run and vault over to cat onto the wall. And, my heart started to race, and I was thinking to myself, I know that I'm going to do this. I can see the possibility of doing it. And then I started to think, well, why is my heart beating so fast? I still have a choice not to do it, do you know what I mean? I still have that option not to actually, do the jump altogether. So why is it that my heart is racing? And some people will say, well, that's because you're trying to prepare yourself for something. But it's like, why am I trying to prepare myself for something that hasn't yet happened, that I still have a choice not to do? So I knew that it was wrong because, as I said, I'm trying to think ahead in the future, which is wrong because, as I said, when the only time that you're truly capable of something, or you're truly safe, is when you live for today, not for the future. So I knew that was wrong, and I calmed myself down, and I took quite a large amount of steps back, and I looked at the gap, and I didn't look at the gap. I looked at the rail that I was going to vault from, and my heart was racing. It didn't race. It started to slow down. It went back to normal, and I then knew that I was ready for this jump. So I ran, and I gave it my all, and midway through the air after vaulting, I knew that I wasn't going to make it at this jump. And in everyone else's eyes, this was like death-defying. Death was just written all over this obstacle that I wanted to jump across, really. And but I chose to accept when I was in the air. The great thing was I chose to accept that I wasn't going to make it. I didn't panic and reach out and try and grab the wall and bail from it, because if I did, then I seriously could have injured myself. But I choose to accept that I wasn't going to make it, and because I chose to accept it, I was still in the moment. I was still because I still understood that I'm not at the wall yet, but I still have a choice to fall or not to fall. So I came down, I hit the wall, and I landed on the floor. I jumped over, and crowds of people just applauding. Oh, that was absolutely amazing! And I was still in the moment. I was still focused, and I was like walking around and what have you. People coming up to me, shaking my hand, and I was like, yeah, thanks a lot. And but then slowly over the weeks, their views on the movement that I did started to affect me. I started to then watch the video footage back and think to myself, yeah, this is absolutely amazing. I can't wait to get this on video. Do you know what I mean? I can't wait to show people what I can do. And I was saying to myself, and sorry, I've just been distracted. Yeah, so I was like, I can't wait to show people what I can do. And but weeks down the line, I then realised I had a real depressing feeling in my heart, and I was trying to suss out what it was, and I realised that it was because I looked back in the past for a second, and I realised it was because I may have been in the moment when I was doing that jump, but I wasn't after it. Do you understand? I was dwelling on the past. So it was almost as if I might as well have not done that movement in the first place, because I obviously hadn't learned anything from it. It just become another physical movement. I hadn't progressed from it at all. But that moment of realization, to understand that I shouldn't dwell on things that I've done in the past, or feel any happier because I've done this jump or whatever. I should just carry on, live for the moment. So because of that moment of realization, I'm able to learn from that experience, really. And that's something that has become part of my story. It's helped me to understand that as my way of talking to other people, that there is no big and small. Every moment is a special moment. Do you know what I mean? And also to learn. I want people to understand is to learn to accept change. Every day. Nothing stays the same. This change happens every single day, and the whole idea of parkour is to be able to adapt to change. Do you know what I mean? Just because something doesn't go the way you want it to, doesn't mean that you should just, make such a big deal out of it. You accept it and you deal with what is coming. Do you know what I mean? And because of that, that's why I never fell, and that's why I never died, or that's why I never hurt myself, because I was able to accept that I didn't have control of what will happen to me in the future. That I only have control of who I am today. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that just became part of the story that I thought I'd share with you, really.
Wow. And actually, just to clear up the story, so you did make it then? You did make the...
Well, I didn't make it. A video that I will upload soon that you will see, it's at the end of the video. But just, as I said, I don't want people to look at it and think, oh, this is absolutely fantastic. I just want people to realise that I want people to watch it and understand me for me, do you know what I mean? And just see the choice that I made in that moment. Basically what happened was I missed my hands. I didn't reach my hands out for it because I knew I was too far away from it to do that. So halfway through the air, I'd never practiced this in my life. As I said, it doesn't take years of practice in order to be able to do something. It only takes one moment of being able to accept change, or just to be able to accept that you have to adapt. Do you know what I mean? That what I did in mid-air is I stuck my legs out and I hit the wall with my legs and then just dropped on the floor. I put my toes into the wall and then I bent my legs in the wall and then I dropped on the floor. And I was okay. Do you know what I mean? And that was, as I said, because I chose to accept that I didn't have control of what might happen to me. And I didn't fear it as well. Do you know what I mean? So I was safe. And as I said, this video will be uploaded soon. I'd like for you to put maybe in the interview or some sort for people to understand that that every moment is a choice. And I made that choice through that movement that I did, not to fall and not to hurt myself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
because so many people fall and keep falling, but they don't realise that that's a choice that they're making. And if they don't learn from that fall, they're going to do the same thing again. Do you know what I mean? If they're afraid of falling, they're going to be, they're going to fall because they're afraid, and it's just going to be a cycle until the point where their body is unable to take it anymore, and they won't be able to practice parkour because they haven't learned from the first time that they fell. Do you know what I mean? It only takes one fall to realise your own potential, to realise that everything is a choice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same with fear. Fear is not our own. Fear is what's put onto us by other people, and that's the problem with a lot of people, is they believe that when they fear something, that it's themselves, it's who they are, but they don't realise it's what's been put upon them by the generation before them, what they've been told is safe and not safe. Do you know what I mean? And that is entirely up to them whether they choose to accept the way other people view that, or choose to accept the way they choose to view it. Really, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that story, Daniel. That was good.
No worries.
Well, I think that's it, Daniel. Thank you so much today for spending time with us, and congratulations again on just being a part of a project. The 2050. It's the printings can be purchased at 2050sport.com, and congratulations on just what you would have achieved. Just again, if you don't think there's a level of accomplishment, I suppose, even though you say it's not about me, Daniel, or it's not about I'm different than anybody. There's still something you've achieved that's very admirable, and so congratulations on that and on the work you've done.
Thanks a lot for that. I see what it is. I mean, we're stuck in a world today where people judge people straight away just by how they look. Do you know what I mean? And so it is very, very hard for people to become who they want to be, because there's already the world that look upon them as this certain person. Do you know what I mean? And so I guess, obviously we go through every day. Every day is a battle. And as I said, it doesn't matter how big or small it is, the battle is exactly the same and identical to everyone else's battle. Do you know what I mean? A precision to a fence, or a precision to a little wall could be just as difficult as the movement that I went through that moment that I did it. Do you know what I mean? As I said, there is no big or small. Everything is a choice, and you either choose to fall or choose not to, really. So, and as I said, there is no bigger battle or smaller battle. I want everyone to know that we're all going through the same thing, and that I view them the same way I view myself. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people say, I use this as an example because this is what happened to me when I was younger. When I was at school, my PE teacher, looked at me, and they looked at this, this kid that was overweight, and saw more potential in me than they did in that person, and that really saddened me, because just they're judging that person on how they look. They don't realise that person has the same potential as anyone else. Do you know what I mean? So there's a lot of people out there that don't believe that they're capable, and I just want them to know that. I want them to listen to me when I say I know for a fact that whatever they want to be, I'm 100% convinced that that's what they can do. You know what I mean? If they put their mind to it, and if they just trust in themselves and believe in themselves, really. Yeah.
Awesome.
Sweet.
Well, again, thank you, Daniel, for your time today, and good luck with your endeavors in your work, and take care and be safe.